we'll start with the prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so I think we did the last couple of lessons. We tried to recap some of the stuff we had already discussed. The next few verses will continue to expand on that. I will be revisiting uh, some of the stuff we had discussed previously through these verses, and it probably is also a refresher for you all on what we had discussed in the past. So can I get you guys to repeat after me? We'll just do a couple of verses. Antavanta
Antavanta
ime
ime
deha
deha
nityasya
nityasya
ukta
bhukta
sharirina.
sharirina
Yeah. Anashina
nashina
aprameyasya
prameyasya
tasmat
tasma
yutyasva
yudyasva
bharata.
bhagavata
Ya
ya
enam
enam
veti
veti
hantara
hantara
cha enam
enam
manyate
manyate
hantam ubau
ubhav
na
na
vijaniti
janiti
na
na
hanti
hanti
na hanyate.
na hante.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just quickly transliterate these verses first, and then we'll go on to some explanation. So the first verse basically is telling that the body that we have is physical, it perishes over time, okay, and it is the soul within, or it is the Atma within, that is indestructible, it's immeasurable, eternal. Therefore, O Arjuna, go and fight. Okay. The next verse was the one who thinks that the soul can slay or one can kill, and the one who thinks that the soul can be slain. For truly the soul is neither kills nor can it be killed. Okay, so that's the next part of it. Neither of them is knowledge. Let's go back to our earlier lessons where we discussed what we mean by this one. It's kind of a refresher on something we've done in the past. So we discussed how gravity affects space and time. So how a mass of object affects space time, and time is also a variable there, space is variable. So these things now become objects, and we've also gone to the extent of identifying an entity that uh, exists solely on its own, whose product is space, time, and all the objects that we have. We call this entity Brahman. Okay. Anyone have questions on that one? I can go a little slower. I can explain it in a little more detail.
No.
All good? Okay. So we're talking about this Brahman because time comes out of it. It itself is not affected by time. Space comes out of it. So you can't really identify the dimensions of this one or the shape. There's no shape or form or any of the other features that we discuss day to day in our life. It is not easily comprehensible, or it's not comprehensible at all in our layman terms. So we're talking about that sort of an entity, and that sort of an entity cannot be destructible. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be measured, and because there is no time sense there, it is always there. Something that is never born, that is something that will never die. On the flip side, we're talking about the physical body. So we discussed all these objects, everything that's come into existence, right? All of this is changing because of time. So even in the earlier verse we discussed, so a small child is born. As they grow up, they go into adulthood, and then they go into Vriddha or to the old age, and then they die. But it's the physical body that dies. It's not the Atma that dies, not the Brahman that dies. Okay, and then this Atma moves on to the next body in the and we call that reincarnation. So we've discussed that, and how it happens is through karma. Uh, for us to understand, I know it's a very complex subject, but I thought I'll throw in a small joke kind of a thing. So imagine you guys, how many of you know Mowgli, who's a Jungle Book character? All right,
Yes.
he's brought up. Most of you know it. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So he's actually brought up by wolves. He doesn't know any outside world. Imagine this: you were uh, in the village that was at the tip of the outskirts of that forest, and Mowgli comes through. He's able to communicate with you. He's got the language skills, and then you take him into your house. Okay, he's lived in a cave. All of a sudden, he's seeing doors open. He comes in, and he's amused by the new things he's seeing. All of a sudden, you turn on a switch, and there's light. Okay, he's used to dark caves, but here all of a sudden there's light. You turn on another switch, and the fan, and there's breeze. So immediately Mowgli asks you, okay, he asks you, oh, how does that work? That's amazing. Is that magic? And you tell, no, no, that's not magic. That's science. Okay, but you don't know all the science either. You just say it's science. There's electricity that flows through those wires, and that's how the light turns on. But imagine from Mowgli's perspective, he doesn't know this electricity. He doesn't know what electricity is, and he keeps pointing out, and he says, "Okay, you've turned the switch on there, but the light's turning on here. I don't know what you mean. You try and explain to the best of your ability, but you can't because he can't imagine electrons moving or whatever. Then you go, you turn on. You guys are hungry. You go turn on the microwave. He's again surprised. He's saying, you turn on a switch and this thing, and he can't believe. No matter what you tell, he will not be able to comprehend electricity. He's young. He's not learned anything. All of a sudden, you're talking to him about electricity. He doesn't know basic science. How will he understand electricity? So, guess what you do? You ask him to take out the bulb, or maybe take a knife. All right, take a knife, go to the PowerPoint, put the knife in, and you tell him, you'll realize what electricity is when you put the knife into the socket, into the wall. What do you think will happen? Something hits him, right? Something hits him, and then he realizes what electricity is. Then, what about you? You don't know what it is. You haven't felt it. How about you ask him what it is? He'll try and explain it in his words. You won't understand it. Then what will he say? Okay, you take the knife and you put it there. So it's like that. Our knowledge is kind of like that. We don't understand it. We can't explain it very well, but we know it exists through a lot of ways. Okay, this Brahman that we're talking about is exactly like that. It's very difficult to explain what it is, but that is why we went through a few classes in the past trying to explain the the existence of the Brahman through reason, through logic, through negation, and a few other ways. Okay, and we've used examples. For instance, we've said, okay, you're in a dream state, right? You are dreaming. Are you thinking when you go and sleep? Are you thinking that you're going to dream? You don't think you're going to dream. It just happens. The same way, when the Brahman exists, we just happen. We are cause, and sorry, the cause of all causes is the Brahman. We're just the effect of it. The dream is an effect of your sleep state. Okay, you don't create it; it just happens. All the characters in there are real for those characters that are in the dream, but the person who's outside doesn't affect them. It doesn't destroy them. It doesn't hurt them. It doesn't. You can light a fire. You can do whatever you want. You can kill 100 people in the dream, but it doesn't affect the person who's dreaming. Okay. So in the same way, no matter what you do in this universe, it does not affect the Brahman. So that is the information this one's giving you. All right. So the one who thinks that the soul can slay, and the one who thinks that the soul can be slain. So this is where I was trying to explain. You can. He's telling Arjuna, Arjuna, you are thinking that you're going to kill your relatives, you're going to kill your guru and all these people, but in reality, you're not really doing it. Okay, you whether you do it today or not, these people they have to shed their bodies at some time in the future. Okay, you are just doing it because you're following certain ideology. So don't despair, go ahead and fight. So that is those two verses that I just was trying to explain. All right, let's go on to the next one. Next two verses. If you can repeat after me. न जायते
न जायते
म्रियते
मयते
वा
वा
कदाचित्
कदाचित्
न
न
अयम्
अयम्
भूत्वा
बुद्ध्वा
भाविता
भाविता
वा
वा
न भूयः
न भूयः
अजो
अजो
नित्यः
नित्यः
शाश्वतः
शाश्वतः
अयम्
अयम्
पुराणो
पुराणो
न हन्यते
हन्यते
हन्यमाने
हन्यमाने
शरीरे.
शरीरे
Okay. वेद
वेद
अविनाशम
विनाशं
नित्यम
नित्यं
य
य
एनम
येन
अजम
अजं
अव्ययम
अव्ययं
कथम
शतं
त
च
पुरुषः पार्थ
पार्थ
कम
कं
Katyati.
Katyati.
Hanti.
Hanti.
Come.
Kam.
Okay. So in this one, uh, here Lord Krishna is telling something I explained in earlier. The soul never dies. The Atma never dies. It's not born, so how will it die? Okay. Where there is time, there is birth and death. Where there is no time, there's never a beginning, there is never an end. Okay. So if you say, no, no, I was born so and so day, what about before that? Was there time or not? You were born a certain day, time starts for you there. But then there will be an end for you. It is exactly like that. All right. Don't go into the Bible or anything. They'll say it's 6,000 years old. The universe is 6,000 years old. But where did it start? Uh, 6,000 years ago, did it start? What was there before it? Nobody has answers there in the Bible. So don't go into that. We are going to talk about our concepts where uh, we have logic and reason, and we explain that where there is no time, there is no beginning, no end. It does not make sense to have beginning and end when there is no concept of time with the Brahman. Okay. So that's, I think we discussed this in the past also. Something that is real always always exists. Something that's not real does not exist. So he's talking about something that is never born can never die. Okay. And something that's existed cannot cease to exist. The soul is without birth, it is eternal, immortal, and ageless. So we're talking about time here because time is a product of this Brahman. Brahman itself is not affected by time. It does not age. It does not uh, change, but it behaves like an observer. It's like you observing the dream and you notice changes out there, but it does not affect you. It is like that. Okay. Um, where am I? Sorry. Sorry, I just lost my screen there. Um, okay, got it back. Sorry. Okay, Vedo Vinashin Nitya. All right. So we are verse 21. So he's telling here Partha. Partha is son of Pritha, which is Arjuna. He's telling Partha, how can one who knows the soul to be imperishable? All right. So he's now addressing Arjuna directly and telling him, now that you know that the soul is imperishable, okay, it is eternal, it is unborn, it is immutable, you cannot kill it. All right. You cannot you're not killing anyone, and neither is anyone uh, being killed. If you know all of this, then why don't you go and follow your dharma? You're living as a jiva right now, but from a Brahman's perspective, you're not killing or you're not doing anything, any such thing. So go ahead and follow your dharma. I think we have some more time, so I think I can go on to the next verse here. Okay. All right. If you can repeat after me. Vasasi
Vasasi.
jiran, sorry, jirnani
Jirani.
Yatha
Yata
यथा
Vihaya
विहाय
Navani.
नवानि
Yep. Grihanati
गृह्णाति
Naraha
नरः
Aparam
अपरं
Tatha
Tata
sh- Sharirani
Sharirani
शरीराणि
Vihaya
Vihaya
Jeernani
Kirnani
जीर्णानि
Anyani
अन्यानि
Sanyati
Sanyati
संयाति
Navani
Navani
Dehi.
देहि
So here we've discussed this in the past. Again, it's kind of a repetition. We discussed that a soul is born in a child's body. It age the child, the physical body of the child ages, the baby ages, grows into an adult, becomes old, and then the body dies, but the soul moves on to the next body. So he's talking. Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna this. It's just like when you uh, change clothes. All right, you have clothes right now; they are worn out. Right, you get rid of them, and then you wear new ones. In the same way, you move from one body to the next. Okay, so that's the explanation of this verse. For those who missed out on the karma class or did not understand it, quick recap. So we have something called prarabdha karma. So we are all born with a basket of fruit, the good apples or the bad apples. So as in our example, so our good deeds, which are good karma, they are the red apples. The bad deeds, the bad karma, which are the green apples. So we are all born with that. All right. As because of this, you also have vasanas. Vasanas are tendencies, certain inclinations. You might like certain fruits or certain vegetables or certain subjects, or you might fancy certain art. Uh, all of this starts with vasanas, and when you're exposed to it, all right. So, say for instance, Mowgli, he might have been a really good artist through Vasana, he might have had that. But because he's not exposed to it, he's not done it. But imagine he's come into the village and seen people do some paintings or drawings, and he's immediately fascinated. He can pick up on it very quickly and he can excel in it. Why? Because he's got that in his prarabdha, he's got that vasana. So that's how that one carries. Now, as you go along in life, right? You have free will, you make decisions. So you may like ice cream, you may want to have ice cream, but you decide today I don't want it because I've had too much sugar. All right, that's a choice you've made. So these choices that you make to help people or to hurt people or do things that are right or wrong, these uh, give rise to new karmas, either the good apples or the bad apples. Okay, now like we discussed, there is action and reaction. So for every good apple, so every time, say for instance, you help somebody out, in the future there will be a time when you get help. If you hurt somebody, in the future there will be a reaction equal and opposite. But some of these may not fructify, which means you will have these good karmas, but they haven't had a reaction. So what happens is they go into a bigger basket where there's infinite red apples and infinite green apples. Why infinite? Because Brahman doesn't have time, the concept of time. So we have always existed and we will always exist. All right. So there's infinite number of red apples and green apples, and those that haven't fructified will go and sit in this basket. So in your next birth, a new set of apples come into your basket, some red, some green, and then the cycle goes on. How to come out of it? We'll talk about it when we get to verse 39 onwards. Okay.